set? The recording's on? There you go. All right, great. Hey folks, welcome to our team manager training. This is the 7th training in our series. And today's training is on tournament preparation. We have 3 weeks to go, is it? Yeah, 3 weeks for the Western Regional and 4 weeks for the Eastern Regional. So are you guys excited? How are things out there? Everyone holding their breaths? Any reactions from the audience? How are your teams doing? Dead silence. That means things are going well, right?
There's some thumbs ups. Yeah.
Thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah.
My screen is, I can't see the videos, so that's okay. Let's get going. So today we're going to talk about tournament preparation. I'm Shirish. I'm the regional director for the Western region. Laurie's on the call as well. Laurie Chin, she's the regional director for the Eastern region. Alyssa is on the call as well. She's our board president, and there's probably a few others. I'm not able to see the full list over here. The topic for today, as I said, is tournament preparation, and we are specifically going to walk you through the tournament forms that you need to fill and submit before the day of the tournament. And there are deadlines for this that we will go through. It is very important that you fill these forms and you submit them online, and we'll see why that is the case. Let me move ahead. I'm going to skip all of this. So we're going to talk about 4 things, and then I'm going to also point you to the pages in our rules of the road for more details. So we're going to talk about the team identification sign, the expense report, the tournament data form, and the prep checklist. And all of these are very important. They play different roles in what you submit and why you submit them. So we're going to go through all of them. And then we are also going to show you how to go to the DI resources website and actually access the place where you can submit this. So the team identification sign, it's not scored. It is just a fun way for your team. I'm hearing an echo. Can you guys hear me okay? I assume that's good. Okay, so the team sign, it's not scored. It is just a fun way for the team to get together and create a sign, be creative, put your team name, put your team number. It shows the appraiser who's performing. When you walk into the room, into the performance area, the announcer will announce your team and the school, or if you're an independent team. The team identification sign is something that someone from your team would go kind of put in front of the stage where the appraisers are sitting, so they can see it all the time. Again, as I said, it's for the purpose of identifying your team. It is exempt from the cost, so whatever you spend on the team identification sign is not part of your budget. So you will not receive a deduction, but a lot of teams do it and they get very creative. They paint it, they stick things on it. It's just a way for your team to kind of express their creativity, kind of get the juice flowing, get everybody excited for the solution that is going to follow. Okay, so that's the team sign. All right, so let's start with the first really, really important form. It's the expense report. As you may know, or as I hope you know, there is an assigned budget for each team challenge, except Rising Star, if I recollect right. And Laurie, Alyssa, please correct me if that is not a true statement. The Rising Stars or the Early Learning Challenge does not really have an assigned budget from what I believe, but do correct me if that's not correct. All of the other challenges, which are the competitive challenges, there is an assigned budget. And you will find this assigned budget in your in your challenge material, which describes the challenge. What are all the scoring elements? What do you need to do for the challenge? There will be a section there which talks about the assigned budget. And it's, essentially, the intent of the expense report is something that you use to tell the appraisers what you spent on creating the solution. It reflects what another team would spend to create your solution. So if another team was to look at your expense report, look at the materials you use, what it cost, they could go buy those materials at that cost, and they could recreate your solution, the props that you're using in your solution, right? The total value of your solution must not be more than the budget. And this is something that the appraisers will verify. When you enter everything in the expense report, you have to put the receipts in there as well. All of that will be totaled up, and the appraisers will make sure that the list of items do not exceed the budget in US dollars. If you do have something that causes it to exceed the budget, you will be asked to take that item out of your solution. So do make sure that you don't put your team in that situation, right? You don't want to be in a situation where the appraisers say, hey, you're over budget, you need to make changes and bring it within the budget. That is not a good place to be in, right? Also, if you use items around the house, like simple day-to-day items, that value must be included in your expense report. So take a look at the rules of the road. I have put the page over there, page 36 on the rules of the road, tells you what are the exempt items. It's a long list. I don't want to go through it over here. I just want to make sure you know that there are some things that are exempt, like musical instruments are exempt, right? So if you use a violin, or if you use a keyboard, if you are using a computer or a projector or something, those things are exempt. But do go through page 36 of the rules of the road to make sure you know what is exempt, and you do not miss something that should be included in your expense report. You might think it is exempt, but it might not be, and then the appraisals are going to ask you to put that in. If you go over budget, again, that's not a good situation to be in. So do take the time, team managers, read through the rules of the road, page 36. It also talks about how to assign a value, right? So if you go buy something that is new, you're going to assign the value that's on the receipt. But if you reuse something that's lying around the house, or if you reuse, some cardboard from last year's solution or something lying around the house, you go and assign, like a garage value or a resale value. And the rules of the road, page 36, talks about how to go do all of that. Also, and here's the really important thing, list only the materials that are part of the solution you bring to the presentation site. So let's say you go to Home Depot and you buy a bunch of cardboard, or you go buy a bunch of wood, and your receipts, it charges you for whatever you bought. Now, you might use a lot of that to experiment and play with as you are creating your solution. And then you may end up using only maybe half of the material that you bought. You need to expense only that part that you have used, right? The part of the solution you bring to the presentation site is what needs to be expensed, not everything you bought. And most teams will, over the course of the season, as they're experimenting, they're trying things out, they will buy multiple things, and then they create a solution, and that's what they bring to the presentation site. Are there any questions on this? I'm not following the chat, so if there's something, Alyssa or Laurie, you want to call out from the chat, please do let me know.
Okay, so we do have something in the chat saying that she's not seeing what's on page 36. She's looking at it and she's not seeing the list.
Give me a second. Let me go bring that up. Make sure that I put the right page in there.
You're looking, there's a question about using a speaker for sound, and I do think AV equipment is addressed in rules of the road. So I would check that one in rules of the road. If you have the PDF version, use that Control F to find things in there quickly.
So this is the rules of the road. That's not probably a good thing. So page 36 is where a lot of this information starts, but sorry for scrolling, but somewhere down here, or see sections 7F, 7G, and 7H for more details. I will stop 1 minute. Okay, right here. I will correct the page.
And I will link the rules of the road here. Give me just a second. It's a large document. It'll take a little bit to download, but I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, yep, right here. So if you see this, I guess this is page 27. Page 27 talks about the budget, the expense report. It talks about the expense report categories. Clothing, it talks about exempt clothing, scenery, equipment, audiovisual equipment. Right, so this is all exempt. Audiovisual equipment, computers, electrical items, floor coverings, furniture, musical instruments, safety equipment, all of that is exempt.
And it has to be spelled out in the rules of the road if you are going to use it as an exempt item. If it's not specifically listed in the rules of the road, you can't call it exempt.
So where does it say it's exempt? Because that's where I see that it's listed here, but where is
Right
it
here.
actually saying? Oh, okay.
Can you sorry, are you able to see my screen where I'm sharing the PDF of the rules of the road?
Yes.
Yeah, right
Okay.
here, line item 4, exempt scenery equipment. Only the specific items listed in this section are exempt. So this is
Okay.
a very important point Alyssa is
Thank you.
making, is these are the only items that are exempt. So if you're using something that's not here, then it's not exempt. And then I believe there was also something on exempt clothing. So if you're wearing a Destination Imagination T-shirt, or essentially your clothing, as long as it does not contribute to the solution in any way, is exempt. Does that answer your question? So any part of your clothing, items required for safety purposes, glasses, hearing aids, mobility aids, all of those things are exempt as long as they are not used as part of the solution in any way. And also, that is one thing you should tell your team members is, sometimes team members, they wear a watch, right? It's fine to wear a watch, it's exempt, but don't look at the watch during the solution and say, it's time, we need to go do something. Like, don't use anything you're wearing as part of your solution that will incur or may incur a deduction, right? Because it's not part of your expense report. Any other questions before I move on? So
Let's keep going.
Keep going. Okay. So the process here is you have to go complete the expense report, you as the team manager, using the resource area, and we're going to show you how to do that before the tournament. The deadline to do this for the Western Regional Tournament is midnight Friday, February 21st. And for Eastern, it's midnight Friday, February 28th. Please do this on time. Otherwise, we have to keep on sending you emails. And the reason you need to do this is it gives the prep area appraiser the opportunity to review that. So all of the prep area appraisers will go for your challenge, will go review all of your forms and get back to you with any issues. This gives you the opportunity to make any changes and bring your solution into compliance. If you don't do this, the only time that this will then happen is in the 20 minutes when you are required to check in, 20 minutes before your performance time. And if something is noticed at that time, if the appraisers notice something and they tell you, you have literally no time to go fix it, you as your team. And it can get into a rather complicated situation where, hey, you're using something that you're not allowed to. The appraisers are going to say, you have to take it out, or, you're going to get a deduction and you don't know what that deduction is going to be. So it gets to be a very stressful situation for the team members. Believe me, my team has been in that situation and you really don't want that to happen, right? So now we do not accept hard copies of the forms. Everything is done electronically on the website before the tournament. Any questions on this, why this is really important? Okay, so if there are no questions, and do keep your questions coming in the chat. Let's move on to the third category. So we talked about the identification sign, we talked about the expense report, and now we're going to talk about the tournament data form. And we are going to show you what this looks like, but kind of just to give you a concept of what this is. So the tournament data form is extremely important because you use it to make sure that the appraisers understand exactly what you would like them to notice and score in the team challenge. So keep in mind, there's a lot of teams, and in some of our challenges, as you'll see, we have a lot of teams, and it's the same set of appraisers who are sitting there from 8 in the morning to 3 in the evening, going after, from one team to the next team to the next team, and they're seeing a lot of performances. And each performance is different, as it rightly should be. Each appraiser is given, 2 or 3 sections in the scoring to go observe and go score. So they get tired. And it is a very good idea for your team to be very clear in the form. Here's what we want you to focus on, right? Here's what our team choice element is, and here's when you're going to see it. Like literally, you could put something like, you are going to see the team choice element, in the middle of a performance after blah, 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 right? So the appraiser who has to score that team choice element is watching for it. And so the last thing you want to have happen is have the appraisers miss something and hence not score it, right? That would not be fair to the team. But everyone is human and these things do happen. So the tournament data form is not the place to sell the solution. So, you don't have to be very eloquent and write a lot of stuff. The important thing is to inform the appraisers what to focus on and when that particular thing is going to happen in your solution. I gave an example of something that our team used to do, or my team used to do, which is, this is my team choice element and here's when you're going to see it, right? So they're kind of watching for it. And here's what you're going to score, because, for example, a team choice element, you might have a prop, and then within that prop, there might be something really specific, which is a team choice element that you wish to be scored separately on. So it's good to point out that in this prop, this is the part which is a team choice element, and this is what you need to score on, right? So the appraiser is kind of zooming in on. The other thing is you also have to indicate your team's use of generative artificial intelligence, or AI, and whether or not your team has used AI in your solution, you still need to fill that form, and we'll show you what that form is. Because if you'll recollect from the training that we did before, there are 3 ways in which you could use generative AI in your solution, and each of those are scored separately. And it is very important for the appraisers to know how you have used it, so you don't unnecessarily get deductions, so you don't get the full points that your team deserves for using Gen AI. And again, clear and concise answers will help appraisers better understand and score your team solution. right? So keep it brief. The process here, again, you go to the resource area and you fill these forms. And again, we'll see how to do this. They must be filled in English before the tournament. Again, it's the same deadline dates that I mentioned before. You do not need to bring hard copies to the tournament. The appraisers will, or the check-in appraiser will not accept hard copies. If you have not done this, you will be asked to go online into the resource area and do it right there, right? So please don't put yourself in that situation and try and hurry this in the 10, 15, 20 minutes that your team has to check in and get on stage, right? So please do this before. Now, the team manager, so who can fill this, the tournament data form? Because it's a lot of information about the solution that your team has created. So the team manager may fill this for the younger team, but it must be the words of the team members. So the team manager should not be filling it in and using their own words. Like they can sit down with the team and they can ask the team member to explain, hey, what is your team choice element and where is it in your performance? What would you like to tell the appraisers? And then you have to go type in what the team members are telling you. This is very important that you do that because if you don't do this, you express something as a team manager. You know, I'm sure you've watched their performance a million times. If you interpret their performance for them and put it in the data form, it may not align with what the team is going to present on stage. And more importantly, it may not align with what, how the team answers questions from the appraisers after the performance, right? So please do not try and interpret for the team members what should go into this form. Have the team dictate it to you and you can go fill it in. Same deadline, Friday, February 21st for Western and Friday, February 28th for Eastern.
We have just a couple of questions, Shirish, on the deadlines I'm noticing.
Yeah.
Nothing needs to be brought the day of tournament. That is correct. All your paperwork will be online and everything should be turned in on the 21st. And then it says evening. So is it midnight is the cutoff? And
yeah, it's midnight. It's midnight. So midnight Pacific Standard Time. So yeah.
Shirish, this is
Kathy.
Kathy. Actually, it is 11:59 p.m. That's the way it reads in the system. So 11:59 p.m. on Friday, February 21st or Friday, February 28th, depending which regional tournament you're attending.
And what happens, Kathy, if that time passes? Does the system lock and they need special permission to do it, or like what happens after that?
Correct. They would not be able to submit after that time, but they could send a message to the prep appraiser and explain whatever the issue is, that they didn't get it done on time or they need to change something. The prep appraiser has the ability to unlock it, unsubmit it, and let them finish what they need to finish.
Okay. All right. So there is a way out, but please try not to get in that situation. Keep in mind the prep appraiser is going through a lot of forms for a lot of teams. So let's recognize their efforts. These are all volunteers. Most of them are also working full time and then doing this in the evening, burning the midnight oil to get this done the 5 days or 6 days or 7 days before the tournament. So let's recognize and appreciate the work that they are doing by submitting this as early as possible. You have the opportunity to make changes, and the prep appraiser will also let you know if there are changes required. There is a messaging system through the portal, and when we show you the demo, Vachala, one of our team managers, is going to walk you through this using a team manager account. There is a messaging system through which you can communicate with the prep appraiser and they will communicate back with you. Wonderful. Keep the questions coming. All right. The other one is the prep checklist. This is essentially you have to go in and certify that all elements of your solution meet the safety guidelines. Again, this is Rules of the Road, page 31. If my page numbers are off, sorry about that. But if you go to the Rules of the Road, if you look in the index, it'll tell you where all of this information is. Now, it's very important that you review the safety information, because appraisers will absolutely stop your performance if any safety hazards are detected. And time will continue to run. Time will not stop. So if the appraisers notice your team doing something that is not safe, wearing something that is not safe, or you use some chemicals, or you use some laughing gas or whatever. I know we all want to make the appraisers on the audience laugh, but laughing gas is not the way to go make that happen. If you use any of that, and this is all spelled out in the Rules of the Road, the appraiser will stop your performance and give you the opportunity to correct the situation, which means you have to remove the safety hazard. But keep in mind that the time will continue to run. So you have whatever, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, the clock is ticking, right? So let's not get into that situation by making sure you review the safety information. It spells out everything that we expect for a safe performance, and make sure you meet all of that. Required elements. Make sure that you have included all the scoring elements in your performance. This is just something, it's just good habit to get your team members to realize, right? At the end of the day, it is a competition, and you are scored on specific things and specific elements that are called out in your challenge material. Go through that with your team members and make sure you have covered all of that, right? And they're all included as scoring elements. Try not to miss something. So all of this, the prep checklist kind of helps you go and make sure all of this is happening, so your team is ready to go when it walks on stage. There's a Declaration of Independence, which your team members have to sign and submit as part of this process. And it essentially says that the team members and only the team members have contributed the ideas and created the solution. Okay, there are two things: contribute the ideas and create the solution. You cannot have anybody else, team manager, a sibling, a parent, an uncle, an aunt, even contribute ideas. It has to be the original contribution of the team members, and also the solution has to be created by them. This is a different Declaration of Independence than what you'll be asked to also do for the Instant Challenge, right? That's a separate thing. Any questions on this? Anything in the chat we need to cover, Alyssa, before I move on?
Nope, you're good.
Okay. Again, nothing new here. Do this before the tournament. Again, the team manager may submit on behalf of the team. If you are presenting your solution, if your team is presenting your solution in a language other than English, which you're allowed to do, we are a global tournament, you are required, though, to provide the script in English as part of this prep checklist. So keep that in mind if it applies to your team. Okay, so at this point, Vachal, are you online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so Alyssa, I believe, has set you up to share your screen. If you could walk us using your team manager account, where do team managers have to go and what it looks like. And then after that, I can walk everybody through the tournament guide for teams. Alyssa sent this to everybody last week when we canceled this, or when we rescheduled this training. Alyssa sent an email, and I believe I sent an email to everybody in the Western region with this tournament guide attached. Please do take a look at it. Page 42, starting from page 42, it shows you all of the forms that you have to fill, and it gives you specific instructions line by line on how to do it. Okay, so I may go through a few pages, but let's have Vachala take us through DI resources and show us what this looks like. I'll stop sharing. So Vachala, you can go and share your screen.
Are you able to see?
Yes.
Okay. So once you log in, this is the dashboard for the team managers. There are two ways you can reach your place where you fill the forms. One is go to this drop-down menu on the top and click My Tournaments. It will take you to the place where all the forms are located. This is the first route. The second route is this in the same dashboard. You'll see this place called Tournament Forms. So if you click again, you'll be it will take you to the same page, and then these pencil icons is where you will find all the forms that Shirish just mentioned. Once you start filling the forms, the data starts automatically saved, and then this icon, which is gray initially, becomes red. So it is still unsubmitted, and then as you can keep on entering it in intermittent ways, like you can enter data at some point and then take a break and come back and fill some more, and then so on and so forth. And then once you feel like you've filled all that information, you go to TC Prep, and that's where your submit button is located, all the way in the bottom. So this is the main button which is locking all your answers. Before you hit this button, you can keep on modifying your answers multiple times. The system is very simple and very forgiving in case you make any mistakes. So you can always go back and change your responses if you feel you've entered something wrong. And once you hit the submit, the answers are locked. And then this red box becomes yellow, as you see in the description below. And for IC, it's the same. You go to this pencil icon and click it. And then once you fill all your responses and click submit, your answers are locked here. That's how you fill the IC prep work.
Thanks, Vachala. So a couple of questions for you, or maybe Kathy can answer this. So one thing, you can do this over multiple days, right? It's once you enter information, it is getting saved. You can always come back later and change it or keep going forward. But once you hit submit, basically, even if you have hit submit before the deadline, do you have the option to go change it? Or once you hit submit, it's locked and now you have to wait for the prep appraiser to get back to you? How does it work?
So once you hit submit, it's locked. And then if you feel like you've entered something wrong, then you'll have to reach out to the prep appraiser and ask to open the system so that you can edit your response. Okay.
And where in this do you send a message to the prep appraiser, or where do you see a message that you have received from the prep appraiser?
So
where in this UI?
Under this box which says TC MSGS, it stands for TC messages or team challenge messages. If the prep appraiser is reaching out to you, there will be a small mobile icon that shows up here, and then there will be a message waiting for you. They will also email you the same question that they have sent in the message in this resource area. So you can also check it out in your email as well. So once you hit submit, and I mean after February 21st, keep looking your emails once in a day at least to make sure there are no questions or anything from your prep appraiser. Same thing for the IC. IC also, the mobile icon will appear here if there are any.
Okay. So those are the two places where there are messages coming. Okay. And if you want to send a message, I guess, how do you do that? From where do you send a message to your prep appraiser?
I don't see any icon here, so I don't know exactly. Maybe
Kathy, do you know from where they can send a message to the prep appraiser?
I'm looking for that right now, but it should show up on their screen, and I'll look for the exact place, but there is a way for them to send a message on their screen when they're in the tournament data area. So let me just check on that in a minute, and I will let you know.
Okay, wonderful. So a couple of things, folks. You are going to be getting a lot of emails on different things. You're going to be getting emails from your prep appraisers. You're going to be getting emails from your tournament or regional directors about the tournament itself. So it's really important 3 weeks to go, 4 weeks to go, that you're monitoring your emails regularly, making sure our emails are not going to your spam folder. And if you feel like you're not receiving the emails or you have a question and you're not able to get answered, make sure you send an email to your regional directors. So folks in the Western region, make sure you send it to me, and folks in the Eastern region, make sure you send it to Laurie. And we will make sure that we get it to the right people on the appraisal team, right? So it's I guess the point I'm making is over communication is key now in the last 3 to 4 weeks. We have a lot of teams coming together, a lot of challenges, a lot of fun stuff. And all of these procedures are important and necessary for us to have a smooth tournament, right? For all of the team members, for all of the parents, and for all of us. So over communication is key.
Shirish, I have the answer for you.
Please, yeah.
Paula mentioned the TC messages box and the IC messages box on the screen there. Once you hit the submit button, a little phone icon will appear. And if you need to send a message to your prep appraiser, you click on that icon, and then a screen will pop up where you can enter a message and send it. And if you look at the tournament guide that Alyssa sent you, that is on page 68 and 69 of the tournament guide, explains how to send those messages.
Okay. I'm actually, Vachal, are you done? Is there anything else you'd like to show?
Before you get
That's it
off,
from my end.
could you click the expense report? I'm just curious to see what the team managers see.
So
The actual expense
my
report?
team is solving improv, so we don't have any form
You don't.
for this.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
But Laurie, I'm going to bring up the tournament guide and walk through that. I think that shows what the team manager is going to see. I noticed there's a few chats going on. Are there any questions on that we need to take? We good there? Okay. Can you guys see my screen with the guide to the resource area section in the tournament guide?
No, we see you.
Oh, wait, I need to start sharing. 1 minute. 1 minute. Let me share. Okay, you should be seeing it now. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so starting on page 42 of the tournament guide for teams, and if you don't have that, I think Alyssa dropped the link in the chat. It has all of the information you're going to need. So it shows you what Chala just said. Go to DI resources, log in with your account, your team manager account. Here's the tournament forms button. And once you're in there, there's a lot of pages. So I'm just going to point a few things. There was a question on what does the expense report look like? So I'm going to go over there. You can upload a team picture if you'd like. It's optional. Here's where you specify your team choice elements. What is your team choice element? 1, and then write a brief description of your team choice element. Once again, as I said, make sure the appraisers know exactly what you want them to evaluate. Please be very clear, please be very precise, because the team choice element, as I said, could be a part of a prop, it could be a part of a costume, it could be a musical note that is played at a certain time in the performance. It's entirely up to your team, right? So be very clear on what you want them to evaluate. And as I said, it's always helpful to tell them, here's when you're going to see it. And then there's team choice element 2. Here's the section on artificial intelligence. So very important, note that all teams must complete this section whether or not Gen AI was used. It's very important you do that. And from the previous training, you will remember there are three scoring sections: skills, inspiration, and direct output. And each of them is scored or not scored. So please be very clear in what you put over here. What's going to happen is when you submit these forms are going to go to the prep appraiser, and they're going to go to these scoring appraisers. And they're going to read this before your team walks into the performance area. So they have already kind of understood some of the things they're going to look at, and they are then going to look at that in your solution, and they're going to use the same train of thought when they come to ask questions of your team after the solution, right? So it's important that you make sure it all kind of flows well. Okay, expense report. So this is the icon that Vachala said, right? The expense report. The total cost of your solution is going to show up over here as you start adding expenses. Laurie, did you have anything specific you wanted to call out or ask over here?
I guess the big thing is we get a lot of items listed that are trash that end up showing as exempt. And I think it's because they're putting in the wrong category. And I wasn't sure if there was category pull downs for the expense report.
Let me look.
Yeah, there are categories actually.
Oh, here you go.
Okay.
Clothing, category used, garage sale, item black pants, cost $2. Yeah. So you have to specify the kind of expense. And again, this is what you will see in the rules of the road. And then the category, I do not know what the option is. Is it used, garage sale, and new? Does somebody know? Maybe an experienced team manager. What category options do you get here to pick from?
I mean, I can
I would
see
think
from the list they have new receipts or new estimate or used garage sale or one-day rental or trash or exempt.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so a few things to point out over there. If you do not have a receipt, then you are asked to estimate the value of your item. Like, it's possible that maybe your team has not kept some receipts, right? And there's a lot going on. Maybe you can't find a receipt. You still need to include it here, and then you select the category that said no or estimated, right? So the appraisers kind of know where that's coming from. Then there's the exempt category, certainly. And for trash, I believe you have to estimate kind of like or actually, let me ask the question, Laurie, Vachala, you guys know, since you've been more recent team managers, for trash, is the cost zero?
Yeah.
Trash, the cost is zero, but it has to be a truly discardable item like aluminum cans, newspaper. Those sort of items are considered trash.
Okay.
And the cost of those would be zero. And that's why I was kind of curious about the categories. Because if you do not list it as trash and you put in the cost of zero, the expense report is going to come up and say that you have newspaper and it's exempt. And that's incorrect. Exempt items can only be those items that are listed specifically in the rules of road.
Okay.
And also, when it comes to cardboard, only Amazon packages or this online packages that we receive, those kind of boxes, they can be considered as trash, but other cardboard needs to be incorporated in your expense.
Okay. What if you use cardboard that's lying around in your garage from several years, from one of your family projects? What cost do you assign for that?
If it's cardboard that you're taking from like a refrigerator box, a computer box, something that was a shipping container of some sort, then that's trash. But if you actually go out and purchase, sheets of cardboard, then you would have to assign the value that you purchased those at.
Okay.
I think Ashley
And
has a
if it-
question she wants to ask.
So I'm a CTE teacher, so I have a lot of stuff in my classroom, and so we have like stuff that they've borrowed from material. Like I had like yard items essentially is what we're putting it listed as, is what we interpreted that we could put it under, like used cloth and material and things like that. I don't have a receipt, obviously, because I've had this material that's just not being used anymore. That's fine, right? Because I would just put the cost from what I understood by reading it is we would just put the cost of what it would be if we would essentially purchase it, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then my other question is, I have 3D printing that was done. I have a 3D printer. Obviously, I'm not going to go have them buy a huge spool of filament when they're only using a little bit of filament. So I would charge them like I would charge a normal student of using a certain portion of filament, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that also
Absolutely.
holds true from like a lot of schools have big rolls of butcher paper, or
Yes.
they have the big bottles of paint. Teams are allowed to use that paper, assuming the school is okay with it.
Yeah.
But teams are allowed to use those things, but they have to assign portion of cost based on, that whole entire roll might be $5 and they used maybe 5 cents worth of it, kind of a thing. But they have to assign a value to that, even though they didn't pay anything for it.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure we were okay with that because I'm not gonna have like a receipt for the filament because that's, a budgeted in our thing. I'm just assigning the amount of how much they used for the project.
Right. And then I noticed there's a question here about the donations. Even if something is donated from parents or you find it along the street corner, you still need to estimate a value for that. And I believe the answer was estimate a garage sale cost.
Mhm.
You could also think about if you went to like Goodwill and you were to pick it up at Goodwill, how much would it cost at Goodwill? But a cost has to be assigned to that, even if it is a donation from somebody else.
Right. Donations are not valued as if it is something new that you would go buy in a store, right? It is more like a garage resale value. The other thing I also want to point out is if you are using an exempt item, you still have to state it over here. Is that correct, Vachala? Or Kathy or
Yes.
Alyssa? Yeah.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So do state all your exempt items here. Otherwise, if the appraisers don't see it on this form but they see you walk in with that item, then you're going to have a conversation on, hey, what is this? And so let's try and avoid that. Anything else on?
Shirish, going back to the question on donation, it's important to recognize if someone is donating a brand new item, you have to assign a new item cost to that. If it's a used item, something that they had in their garage, and then they can assign a used cost to it. It gets a little bit more complicated if they're using a piece of machinery that any team would most likely not find in their parents' garage. That's when you get into a one-day rental cost. And even if they are not going out and renting the item, they could contact a rental company and ask what a one-day rental cost is for that type of item. And the idea, again, is to make sure that some teams might have more resources than other teams, but we have to make a level playing field so that teams can't go out and basically buy all the components of their solution. We're wanting these teams to be creative, and another team has to be able to replicate that same type of solution within the budget.
I'm sorry. So, I had teams use saws. I had saws, but I didn't have to use a cost, like a rental cost for that.
I'm sorry, you were a little garbled there, Ashley. What was your question again?
I had two teams use saws in their challenge for wood. So I already had those in my classroom because I have students that use those all the time. So I would have to do a rental cost to borrow that saw then.
Okay, saw is they're not actually using it in the presentation. Is that correct? That
No,
was
they
just
just
something.
sawed the wood.
That was a
for the
tool that
picnic.
they used to saw the wood. The tools are exempt. So
Okay.
the tools do not need to be added to the expense report. As Sharish mentioned earlier, it's things that the appraisers are going to see. Everything the team brings into the launch area to present their solution, all those items need to be assigned a cost, or they need to be trash items that are exempt.
Okay, so like a paintbrush, like there's a question somebody asked about, do they need to assign a cost for paintbrushes? They wouldn't need to assign a cost for paintbrushes because we're not seeing the paintbrushes.
Correct. It's a tool.
Okay.
It's not something
Yeah.
they are using in their presentation.
Okay.
The
Yeah,
only
thank you.
time
Great,
you would
great
have
question.
to the only time you would have to assign a cost for paintbrushes is if it was a prop. If they're going to actually do, maybe their skit is something about they're painting the Mona Lisa and they have paintbrushes that they are using as part of their presentation, then you would have to assign a cost for those paintbrushes. But if they paint something before it shows up at tournament, they do not have to cost those paintbrushes.
Great questions. Yeah. And we realize there's a certain level of ambiguity in this, which is why we highly encourage you to read the tournament guide. It has a lot of the details, and if you're not sure, give yourself enough time to talk with your prep appraisers and have all of these figured out before you show up on the tournament day, right? So that 1.5 week thing is extremely important. The prep appraisers are not here to give you a hard time or give your team members a hard time or try and create difficulty. All they're trying to do is have a level playing field for all of the teams who are taking part in that challenge, solving the same challenge within the same budget, right? That's the intent here. So it's nothing really to stress out about, but do follow the process and everything will be fine. Okay, we have any other questions? I noticed we have a lot of folks on the call today. So as you're kind of thinking through what your teams are using, do you have any questions about the expense report or anything else before I move on? Again, I'm going to kind of scroll through it very quickly. There's a place to upload expense receipts. There's a prep checklist. So this is a very detailed document. Do take a look at it. It talks about all of the safety things that will not be allowed. It's very important. Lasers, laser pointers, smog and fog machines, live animals, fires or open flames, weapons of any type. And Kathy, keep me honest over here. In the past, we have also said that fake weapons should not be brought in on school property. And since this is a tournament on school property, does that apply over here for our tournament?
Yes, it does. Basically, we have to follow the school district guidelines. And locally here in the two school districts on the east side where we have tournaments, anything that, for instance, they want to portray a weapon in their skit, it has to be something that is obviously not a weapon. For instance, you could use a banana to portray a gun. You are not to use anything that resembles even a squirt gun. Nothing that resembles a weapon would be allowed.
Okay, thank you. And I assume that would be the same for the Western Regional Tournament. It's we are doing it at the Mercer Island School District. So just be safe and no weapons of any type at all. Also, if you're planning to use any of these things like helium balloons, latex, dry ice, strobe lights, It says over there, go check the rules of the road, section 7J, for more details on the use of these materials. So do go take a look at it.
Sharish, on those materials as well, we have to follow school district policies. So if a team wants to use dry ice, for instance, you have to contact the school district to find out what their rules are for use of that on school property. In most cases, they are not allowed. So I'm just giving you a heads up on that.
So a question. So it's up to the school district, but not the tournament director?
You would contact the tournament director and they would give you a decision. But basically, as a tournament director, I check with the school district to see what their policies are.
I see.
Because in the DI rules of the road, it is not banned. Dry ice is not banned. They just said you must check with your tournament director to see if it's allowed in your tournament. And in our case, because we are using a school district facility, we have to check with the facility to see if they allow it.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Another quick thing, because this this happened with my team. All team members will wear shoes or foot coverings during the tournament. We had one team member who walked in without sandals or shoes. She left it with me, and she had to come running back, or her mom had to come running back to find me, so she could wear that to go on stage, right? So we do require shoes or foot coverings during the tournament. All right, I think we can switch here back to the remaining slides to close this out. So let me quickly recap what we have heard. So here's kind of the prep process that's going to take place in the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Submit all your forms to the resource area by the published deadline. Prep appraisers will review the forms, notify you of any required changes prior to the tournament. You're going to use the resource area messaging system that you saw to communicate back and forth. You will also get an email notification if there's a message from your prep appraiser. It's very important you are checking your emails. Make sure things are not going into the spam folder. Any changes to your forms must be made to the resource area. Please do not bring hard copies. When you come to the tournament, if there's a change that needs to be made, you must have a laptop to make these changes. Okay? Because the whole idea is you're going to make these changes, your appraisers are going to see this in real time, and that's how they're going to appraise the solution. So please absolutely bring a laptop to make any changes when you check into the prep area. And not following this process can delay your team's performance, right? So let's not put ourselves into this situation. And also, more importantly, if you do not communicate clearly what you want the appraisers to appraise, what to focus on, it is going to affect their scoring, right? Think of it, we are all humans, so help the appraisers notice the things that your teams have worked so hard in their solution. So that's what the next 3 to 4 weeks is going to look like. The deadline, the dates again, very quickly. 11:59 p.m. the 21st of February, all forms are submitted for the Western tournament. 11:59 p.m. on the 28th of February, all forms are submitted for the Eastern tournament. Then these are the 2 dates. 1st of March, Islander Middle School is the Western tournament, and then 8th of March, Richland High School is the Eastern tournament. For teams that advance from the 2 regional tournaments to our affiliate tournament, that tournament is the 22nd of March, yep. And then teams that move from there to global finals is the 22nd of May. All right, that's what I had. We have a couple of minutes. Any questions, any thoughts? Anyone, any of the other experienced team managers who are on the call, any insights?
Sorry, I just
you
have
would
a
like to
quick
provide?
question.
Mhm.
I have a question regarding to the expense report. I might miss this, but if say we use an instrument, do we just because you mentioned about like the 1 day rental. So if we need to use an instrument, do we need to count? Because we already own it from when
Yep.
kids was little. How are we supposed to expense that?
Right. So a musical instrument is exempt. So if you look in the rules of the road under
Okay.
the
Oh,
exempt
okay.
items, it will show you that, musical instruments, violins,
I
keyboards,
see.
other
Okay.
kind of musical instruments, they're all exempt. So
Oh,
you should
okay.
list it, but it will have a zero cost.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions, even if they are outside the topic of today, since we have kind of covered this? Anything else you want to ask with respect to the tournament or
Can we
anything leading up
ask
to it?
something about like challenge specific? Like I have a question regarding engineering type of challenge. I just want to know like the stand will be in the center of the room or is that to the left or right? Will it block some of the view? Like um
We won't know that until
Yeah,
the challenge site gets set up.
get set up. Yeah.
okay.
And
Okay,
we
I see.
don't know if we'll be able to set up the night before the morning of. So that's a really great problem solving opportunity for the team to come
Mhm.
in early and ask some questions like where are they set up? What do you notice?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. One thing I would add to that, look for emails from your tournament director or your regional director on the site. There might be some site specific things or some room specific things related to the various challenges that we may communicate over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So do look for those emails. And if there is something that we feel we need to communicate broadly to everybody, that's where we'll do it. Other than that, everything that is laid out in the challenge material, with respect to things have to fit through a single door and all of those things have to be respected. But if there's anything specific, like for example, if the performance area is going to be carpeted or something for the technical challenge or the engineering challenge or something, we will inform you and let you know.
We've had a couple more questions come up about weapons in the chat. And I guess the thing you need to remember is we are hosting our tournaments on school grounds. So think about whatever it is they're trying to do, would that be allowed for them to do if school was in session? And if it's not allowed to happen when school is in session, then we cannot allow it to happen at the DI tournament. So hopefully that gives you a little clarity, is just think about what are you allowed to do at school?
I appreciate that, but I guess for us as leaders, it needs to be a little bit more direct because we have kids that they're leading this. And for example, I've got a team that's trying to break things down and it's boys and they're thinking destruction. And a lot of things that were thought in solutions and plans are things that are going to be leaned more to using things like a bow and arrow or a Nerf gun or, something that's created in what would be considered a weapon. So if we're not going to be allowing any of that and we show up with that as a solution, it'd be nice to know that now, with 11 days left, to have them change that. Because in a middle school standpoint, as a CTE science teacher, if it does fit the challenge, I would allow it in the classroom, or if we were doing some type of event, that it was like knocking down milk jugs or whatever, we would allow it. So I don't know what their rules are. So to have it blanketed is not direct enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
I'll
I think
add.
that's a great question, Alyssa. How do we
Yeah,
address
actually,
this?
I would add, if I go to a high school drama play, there are certain things I'll see in it in the high school. I think the rules of the road say if it's created So, I mean, if it's a baseball bat, that could be a weapon or not a weapon, right? It depends on the spirit of how it's used. So while I know you want a black and white answer, I don't think there is one, other than, I mean, the gun's a black and white one, but swords, I think if they're created as a prop, we're good. But if you bring in a sword that's been hanging, a samurai sword hanging on the wall, that's a no-go.
Alyssa, I'm going to add to that. We did have teams a couple years in a row, actually. They were high school level teams that were creating a sword in a metal shop. They asked if they can use it. I checked with both school districts that are hosting the tournaments here on the east side, and they both said absolutely not. So my guideline as a recommendation would be, if you want to use something that depicts a sword, something that is obviously cardboard and drawn on cardboard would probably be acceptable. But anything that looks anything remotely like or could be construed as an actual weapon would not be acceptable.
Yeah.
For instance, I know that, knives are not allowed in schools. So you couldn't bring anything that resembled a knife, whether it's plastic or metal or anything else. But if you drew a cardboard knife that was not painted, actually looked like cardboard, that would be something different. So hopefully that answers your question.
There's a question here on a small wheeled dolly. What if you're using something like a small wheeled dolly that we already own? Will it be considered a rental equipment for the day? Are you using the dolly as part of your solution, or are you using it to transport the solution? Well, so it's part of the solution. So Kathy, I guess if this is something that they already own, that is just like a used value, is it?
No, they would have to assign a one-day rental to that item.
To that item, okay.
Yeah. If you're, for instance, on audio-visual equipment, if you have a cart that you're moving the audio-visual equipment on, and that cart is not, that cart would be considered exempt. But if you're using a dolly in your solution, and it's not specifically called out as something exempt in the exempt category, then you would need to assign a cost to that.
Okay. So I hope that answers that question. Is there anything else? This is a very important topic, so I don't mind us going a few minutes over. So folks, if we have not answered your questions in the chat, could you maybe speak up and ask? I'm scrolling through this over here.
A question.
Yeah.
So this is a spear. It is made of cardboard inside, but it's got an aluminum foil wrapped around, so it looks silvery. Does that cause concerns? Does the aluminum foil need to be taken off, or? It's a prop that the child will use for the play.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. I think you need to look at it, and if it's very obviously aluminum foil, if it's all crinkly and is mushed up, that's one thing. But if it's very smooth and looks like metal, that's something else.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.